one here. Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to the Bass Player University. I am your host, George Mesa, and after my recent newsletter that I sent, and please do join my email list if you're not there. I give tips and inspiration every week beyond what I do here at the YouTube page. I had discussed how it's intonation season as we are approaching spring here in 2025. And it's often a time for our instruments to go haywire. We've got different types of wood, fingerboard, neck, body, top, all different woods, all expanding and contracting at different rates depending on temperature, whether you leave it in your case or not, humidification systems or not. There's going to almost definitely be at least an issue with the angle of your neck, the intonation of your notes, and so on. One of my favorite tricks to get things in tune, not discussing intonation, but to tune the instrument, is to use the harmonic at the 7th fret and the 5th fret below. Now that sounded pretty close to being perfectly in tune, did it not? There was no wobble whatsoever. I turned my volume up a bit more so you can hear 7th of G, 5th of D. That's pretty close to being perfect. I'm not going to touch it beyond that right now. I use a strobe tuner. I use the Peterson Strobo Plus HD. There's plenty of other ones, but Peterson really is the name in strobe tuners. The reason I use a strobe tuner is because they get it to be as close as possible to the nearest cent. So we generally consider every half step, every fret, to be 100 cents. You can be off by a certain number of cents to the equal temperament tuning that we use. I may have already said several things you were unsure about. I have a video on harmonics early on in the BPU YouTube that I suggest you go back and check out if you're not sure. And we also had our very first special guest of the year, none other than Michael Manring, the best, or at least one of the very best users of harmonics and tuning and understanding how frequencies work. Possibly the only person I can label as a solo bass guitar composer, and potentially the most unique bass guitarist on the planet. If you're watching, Michael, thank you so much. More to come on that in the next video. Show a clip of what happened there and the exciting time we had with him at the Bass Player University last week. So what I want to get across, the main point today, is the easiest and quickest way for you to intonate your bass properly, bass guitar. And unlike regular guitar, where we're very frequently playing more than one note at once to play chords, we don't do that as often here as bass guitarists. Our primary function is to play low frequency, high amplitude notes that give us the fundamental of the chord and make sure that that sustains itself to stabilize the band and to make sure the listener knows exactly what's going on. Our importance is far beyond that. But I just want to give a quick tip today about keeping your instrument intonated. I have intentionally de-intonated the A string a bit. And I want to also give you a quick tip on how to adjust. My cover is off to make it quick here, but I often do keep it off actually. The truss rod cover that's usually here is what I mean, because the truss rod is accessible here. You can see it right there. The truss rod going through the entire neck. So let's quickly get the truss rod thing out of the way, right? If you think that buzzing or tuning problems are occurring because of the neck angle, and it may often be that, the best thing you can do is look down the line of the instrument. And what I mean by that is to look from the bridge down the neck at a perfect angle, and you will notice very, very easily if there are any bends or curves in the neck, or if it's just completely in one way or the other. And then you can use your truss rod beyond that. If you tighten the truss rod, the neck will bend, and as a result, it will make the nut closer to the bridge, the extensions of your string, your vibrating string. If you loosen it, it will go the other direction and essentially loosen the slack. It'll slacken the tension of the string itself because the string is very tense from nut to bridge. This is the vibrating portion of your string. This is what's called the scale length. So mine's a 5, but find your appropriately sized Allen key, your Allen screw. I have this handy dandy multi tool for guitar. It's bass guitar too. Of course, this one's from Ibanez. I mean, why wouldn't it be, right? With the 5 string, if you're on the gig and it's got to be quick, and you happen to notice a big problem with either fret buzz or something along those lines, and I'm not going into full detail here, by the way. This is a quick one for us to get quick jobs done. The A string can be slackened completely, or not, I'm sorry, it's slackened a decent amount, and as a result, you can now take it off and just pull it over to the next notch in your nut. Now I have complete access to my truss rod. It's a very easy way to not have to detune every single string. And then let me test myself. Let me see if I can actually use the tension of the string to know where I am. This is my guess for A. Not even close. Not even close. What I will now try to do is tune it without using a tuner. Now we'll use the harmonics to C. I'd say that was pretty good. And hopefully you can hear how I let the wobble go away between the pitches. The dissonance was cleaned up, so to speak. And we're going to use our ear like that to see if we're intonated. The best way to check, and the reason that you'd want to, by the way, is that perhaps you're playing a line. Perhaps you're checking yourself. Perhaps you seem like it seems like something's just a little out. Maybe you're doing a chord and things just don't seem perfect. I'm just doing simple stuff to see. Do I sound like I'm a little out? I am a tiny little bit out maybe on the A string, but I know already because I did it intentionally. So, as you'll see here in this picture, I am particularly looking to turn the intonation screw on the A string. These are where your intonation screws are typically located, at the back of your bridge. So, what I'm going to do is listen to see which direction I need to turn it to get myself closer to being more perfectly intonated. Perfection is almost impossible. And if you're not sure about any of this stuff and you're feeling very uncomfortable, you have to hand it over to a professional, of course. But if you're looking to get better at doing your own stuff and keeping your instruments under your own watch, then this is your best approach. I glanced over the concept of set screws or saddle height screws, as you will see in the picture. These are often raised or lowered with much smaller Allen keys than I used for the truss rod, and maybe something like a 1.5, depends on the instrument. So these are used to raise or lower your string height. Individual string action can be raised or lowered from these. And that can help when one string is really buzzy and your neck looks great. Again, this is a quick little glance over some of the things that you can do on your own without snapping your instrument. Now, the truss rod, you've got to be careful. You shouldn't really do more than a quarter turn in either direction. You may hear a little snap. That is natural. Sounds like your neck cracked in half, but nothing happened. It's just the nature of the wood being moved in a certain direction by the truss rod. But if it feels like it just does not want to turn, or if you are unsure, don't destroy and ruin your instrument forever. Take it to a professional. And hopefully you have one locally that you can trust. So last but not least, how to check for intonation. The quickest and best way, on the fly especially, to check your intonation, and there's a very specific way to do it right. You go to your 12th fret harmonic. Let's use A because, like I said, I took it out on purpose. There's my 12th fret harmonic. Now I'm going to play the 12th fret, stopped, as they would say, or fretted. Listening carefully now. Now keep this in mind. Listen again. Hopefully you hear now that the harmonic is flatter. If you push too hard, you can actually sharpen the available note that the 12th fret is trying to give us and deceive yourself into hearing your string being out of balance or not intonated well. Between the 12th fret and the fretted 12th note, you want to make sure they are as close as your ear can possibly tell. Now, if you have a tuner like a strobe tuner or a tuner that tunes to cents, tells you how many cents close you are to being perfectly in tune, this is a really good way for you to tell if you're really actually perfectly intonated. But as of right now, I'm using my ear just to show you guys that you can use your ear if it's acclimated to this kind of listening. What you have to make sure, based on what I said earlier, is push, as you can tell, I'm very gingerly fretting this note. This helps you get the most accurate version of your fret, and you should fret that lightly, even if you're playing fast. You should fret as lightly as possible. Even if you're slapping. Now I know that I am thinking about it and doing it. In the heat of the moment, maybe you're pushing a little harder for slap, and that's a whole different conversation. There's an episode on that too. To hit or not to hit, as you definitely want to check that one out. So be careful. It's very easy to sound sharp even if you're not, because you're squeezing too hard here. When you squeeze too hard, when you fret a note with frets, your string actually does not touch the wood of the fingerboard. Take a good look from here. You will see the string is simply landing on the 2 frets. The string is landing on the 2 frets. It's not touching the wood of the fingerboard. If you really squeeze too hard, you are actually bending the string like a sitar player would towards the fingerboard. That's me over squeezing and sharpening the pitch. Totally a different pitch. So you can do that at 12 too. Be careful. Touch as lightly as you can. Now they're really close. So don't mind the noise, but I'm unplugging from my unit and I'm going to show you on the tuner how close or not close are these pitches. Let's see. This particular tuner, I have a Buzz Phaeton tuning system on here, in case anyone's familiar, where the first fret is much more similarly sized to the second fret in order to retain better intonation. So funny that we're talking about that, and I have an instrument that utilizes this Buzz Phaeton tuning system. I actually have this set for Buzz Phaeton. It's not just set for bass guitar. A lot of strobe tuners have a lot of features. This particular unit was about $100 10 years ago, so it might be more now. So here we go. I'm going to try the harmonic A. There you go. You see that it's actually flat. Spinning in this direction is flat. Spinning in this direction is sharp. Now I'm going to fret. See the speed? It looks like the speed is increasing a bit when I fret. Now it's time to actually see what my A string's in tune anymore. It is not. It might be because I took it all the way out to move it aside for the truss rod adjustment, right? This is what happens when you do this stuff. Got to be really careful. Now I look like look how solidly I'm in tune. It's barely moving in even a millimeter or a micrometer. And now my 12th fret harmonic looks good. And now a little flat. Not so flat. A little flat. Harmonic. Fretted. A little tiny bit flat. So now I'm going to use it's usually a Phillips head that's required at the intonation screws. I'm going for the middle one, of course. Now the question is, do I tighten or loosen? Think about it. If I tighten this, I'm going to push the saddle forward. This will decrease the size of the string. This will increase the pitch. If I increase the size of the string, think of a piano. Bigger string, lower pitch. If I increase the size of the string, I will decrease the pitch. I will lower the pitch. Right now, my pitch is flat when I fret by a little tiny bit. So I'm going to raise the pitch by tightening the intonation screw and therefore moving my saddle forward in order to make the string size a little smaller. Let's see if I can catch it without getting my eyes on it. There we go. Not too much of a turn. Let's see what that harmonic looks like. Barely moving at all. The fretted note. Now it's actually a little sharp and I barely moved in it. It's in the other direction. Now I'm going to find that sweet spot. Little tiny twist the other way. And now we're so much closer. I'm not going to go further. I'll do it on my own when I'm done here. But as you can see, this is the kind of thing you can definitely do on your own. Take a good look at your saddle. If one of the strings is totally out of whack, that might mean something. Now, my B string is much bigger than the rest, comparatively speaking. But it's a way bigger string that has just more requirement. I'd like it to be a little bigger. So when I pluck it, I actually get something out of it. But going any further would be, me and you. Email me. Call me. I've got my phone number listed, waiting for you to contact me about lessons or about inquiring about the Bass Player University. We meet for 1 hour twice a week, and that is just the beginning of the fun and awesomeness that we have. I stand by not just as the person who came up with the idea and the person who runs it. I think it really works. The group environment is a whole different way to approach the learning instead of the one-on-one lessons, which I still do, of course. So join the mailing list. Find me on my website. I hope that this was informative. I hope I went in the order of events that I meant to. I don't even know. But it's being released anyway, and that's how we do it here. Any questions? Leave a comment too. I'll answer your comments even if you don't want to contact me any other way. And thank you so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time.